Hey guys, Inferno here. I've been slacking with these developer diary videos, so it's about time I catch up. I'll be reviewing diaries 6, 7, and 8 today. The timestamp for each one is on screen and in the comment section. Finally, if you find anything in this video helpful, please like and subscribe. With that being said, let's get into it. They first talk about our feedback from the first play tests and other snippets of art they shared, and one thing was loud and clear. Something didn't feel quite right. So they've started dialing things back a bit. The new version of the characters in Czar is now a blend of both worlds with cleaner lines and improved animations. They're recognizable, they pop off the screen, and they feel like Zombie Assault again. Character design isn't just about visuals, it affects gameplay. They've added and tweaked movement animations, added punchier weapon feedback, and reworked hit reactions so that each character feels unique. They want us to make sure every character stands out not just visually, but mechanically as well. Now onto the Q&A for Diary 6. Question 1. Are there going to be events in Czar, like championships or apocalypse? Post-launch, they do plan to introduce regular multiplayer events. Their main focus right now is on the core gameplay experience, but events will be a major part of the game further down the line. Question 2. Are there any new ideas for bosses, and will the bosses from SAS 4 return? They have a lot of ideas for bosses, old and new. Necrosis is one of the most distinctive bosses from SAS 4, which they think would fit in well with the new story, so that's a possibility. This is awesome news. I can't wait to see the redesigned Necrosis and new bosses. Not only that, but the new boss mechanics as well. Question 3. Will the weapons be more balanced? Game balance is important to them when building the game, so that's definitely their goal. Guns in Czar are being designed to offer multiple options, as opposed to how they were in SAS 4, where players who wanted to maximize a weapon's potential ended up with little options. This is great, so unlike SAS 4, at the highest levels of gameplay, we should have more viable weapon options. Not sure about you guys, but for me, the shock field got a little boring after a few years. Question 4. Will certain enemies be weak to certain elements instead of resisting them? For example, fire would be effective against flesh, or corrosion would be effective against the robots. While this is a cool idea, they're sticking with just resistances for now, and that makes sense considering there aren't too many elements. Question 5. Will there be clans? They've cooked up some ideas for clans, but it won't be a launch feature. Question 6. Is there a possibility of SAS 4 weapons coming back, but instead of being in their pristine form, they're more worn down? This is a very cool idea, and something they'll probably visit further down the road, but for now, they want to remain focused on offering new stuff for us to get our hands on. Bringing back some SAS 4 weapons is actually a pretty cool idea, and I hope to see that eventually. Question 7. Will there still be a revival system if your whole team gets knocked down, or a reset option for skills? What about the weapon mastery system? If the entire team goes down, that would result in a failed mission. There will be skill respecs in-game that will only use in-game currency. And currently, there are no plans for a weapon mastery system, but there will be other ways for you to improve your guns. Okay, so we're getting skill point resets without having to pay real money. This was super annoying in SAS 4 needing to pay up if you didn't like your skill tree, so that's a really nice change, but it's also expected considering the game isn't free. And that's about it for Diary 6, on to 7. For this diary, they're diving into operations. Operations are high-intensity missions designed to throw you into the action and keep you on your toes. They're fast-paced, deadly, and offer handsome rewards based on the difficulty level you choose. At their core, operations are missions set across a variety of maps, and each one is built around a core objective type. These aren't just simple kill-all-zombie tasks, these are dynamically generated missions with randomized enemies, end scenarios, and boss encounters. Each operation includes a mission type, a set of zombie types, a final scenario, and optional modifiers to push your squad to its limits. This sounds pretty crazy, and it's probably my new favorite addition. They go on to say, the way you play will shift based on what the operation throws at you. Take extraction, for example. Sometimes it's as easy as clearing a landing zone and walking into the evac ship. Other times, the noise of the ship can trigger another wave and you'll need to stand your ground until pickup. And on the worst days, you'll alert something far nastier and much, much bigger before you can make your escape. You won't know exactly how an operation will end until you're already in the thick of it, but this unpredictability is a huge part of what makes them feel fresh each time you load in. For those looking for a higher risk-reward setup, they've got you covered. If you happen to roll the tough modifier for operations, this boosts the zombie levels, removes all supply drops, and cranks up the intensity across the board. But if you're tough enough to stand tall and make it through, you'll be rolling around in the kind of loot that makes the risk worthwhile. Familiar terrors and new nightmares. Sometimes, operations don't just end in a climactic fight, they become one. If your mission ends with a boss, your evac will be delayed until you take it down. Some of the bosses will be fan favorites from previous SAS games, reimagined with new mechanics and visuals. Other are brand new abominations created just for Xar. Each boss brings its own unique combat rhythm, strengths, and weaknesses, so you best be prepared. While we're on the subject of bosses, they thought now would be a good time to show off the newly redesigned Regurgitator. If you look at him from the top, you can actually see a spine in there, which is a really cool attention to detail, and I think it's sick. Now for the Diary 7 Q&A. Question 1. Will the 5 Nightmare ticket limit be present in Xar? While Nightmare mode isn't something they're currently looking at, they're not ruling anything out for the future. However, things like ticket limits are not a mechanic that would apply to Zombie Assault Resurgence. That kind of system is for a free-to-play model and is one of the reasons Xar is a paid-for game. It allows much more design freedom. To everyone who's skeptical of Xar because of its price, as opposed to SAS4 which is free, this is exactly why I don't mind. Being able to pay in-game currency for things like skill resets and Nightmare tickets is awesome, and that's how it should be. Question 2. On a scale of HVM basics to the Proton Arc, how grounded is our arsenal shaping up to be? SAS4 had some pretty out-there guns, which proceeded to get crazier in the game's lifespan. Xar is set in the same universe, so Critical Mass is still very much the manufacturer who leans into gimmicks, while Rancer doesn't worry too much about how humane a weapon is. How will weapons be more flexible or creative other than pure DPS machines? The hope is that by designing around a baseline for guns, all will be equally viable. For example, one gun might have great damage, but another gun with less damage might have a much higher pierce. The aim is to offer you options for finding a gun that fits how you want to play, not forcing you to pick the good option. Question 4. How will you attempt to make players play as a team? Team objectives will play a big factor in the XP you gain. As well as that, abilities such as Medic's Medkit will offer XP for healing teammates, etc. They're also investigating canned chat, which will interact with the minimap and markers for clearer comms. Encouraging team play by rewarding XP is really nice, and chat that interacts with the map is something I also enjoy, but I'd really like to see a chat system where you can type out messages as well. Question 5. Will maps evolve beyond battle arenas? Yes, the story missions will be a lot more involved. If you're asking whether the operation maps evolve, that'll depend on the mission type and ending that you get. Question 6. Will there be any new corporations that make weapons? They decided to stick with the existing manufacturers for now, although some have changed their design philosophy or gone through a rebrand over time. Will Xar have something like Faction War from SAS4? Something similar to Faction Wars, guilds, clans, or any sort of player-oriented groups is definitely on the roadmap. So it doesn't seem like we'll have any sort of teams or clans upon release, but we should be getting them eventually. I'm also hoping for a more permanent team or clan setup, something where, unlike Faction Wars, the team is permanent, and maybe you can work together to increase your team level for rewards. Question 8. Do they have any future plans with different models like Extraction, or would it be built in the maps? All operations end with an extraction phase, and some operation mission types involve grabbing loot and getting it to an extraction point. Just for clarity's sake, Zombie Assault Resurgence is not an extraction shooter. Question 9. Will any weapons be locked to Merc classes? No, though your class might have benefits for certain weapon types. And finally, question 10. Have they thought about introducing elemental weapon effects like fire, ice, electricity, or acid that interact with enemies and the environment in unique ways? They say it's definitely something they're exploring. I'm not too sure how they'd go about this, but I definitely think it's a cool idea. And finally, we're on to Dev Diary 8. The first topic of discussion is the next public playtest, which is just around the corner. It's starting at 10 a.m. on August 13th and ending on August 18th, and it can be accessed through the Steam playtest feature. More on that in a minute. Here's a list of what to expect in the playtest. The one that sticks out most to me is the return of strongboxes. I absolutely love the strongbox system in SAS4, so I'm happy to see this. But they do say that strongboxes will drop common guns, which makes me wonder, will we have different level strongboxes, or will there only be one type? Either way, I'm happy they're back. And during this test, Ninja Kiwi need our input, so if any of you get accepted for the playtest and want to share some opinions, I highly recommend joining the Ninja Kiwi Discord server linked in the description. If you're interested in joining the playtest and you have a Steam account, head over to the Czar Steam page linked in the description, scroll down to the Request Access button and press it. It's that simple. And finally, for the last part of the video, we have the Q&A for Diary 8. Question 1. Will bosses eventually have unique mechanics like phases or environmental hazards? Yes, these are both things that they're looking to include in the boss encounters. Question 2. Will there be mastery ranks, prestige systems, or something to grind for post-cap? Yes, they have lots of fun ideas planned for the late game systems, but for now they're concentrating on fleshing out the main game feel. Question 3. Will cosmetics be earnable or only monetized? Any plans for visual customization tied to class progression? Cosmetics are likely going to be a mix of earnable through playing the game and monetized. They are planning on some changes to your appearance tied to class progression, which actually sounds pretty cool. Question 4. Will bosses have a visible health bar or phase indicator to help players track progress during fights? We will have health bars for bosses, as well as clear visual indicators for changes in phases. Maybe not in the playtest, but they will be in the final game. And the final question, question 5. How much of the game is single-player friendly? The game is being built in such a way that it will be equally playable in multiplayer as it is in single-player, so you can choose to slay zombies solo or squad up. And that's about it for this video, so good luck guys, see ya.